on, everybody? Welcome into The Highlight, a serious podcast for only the most serious business people. And today, I'm bringing on a new serious friend who's obviously not here to have a good time for a long time or any of the other country cliches. I've got Pete Weiss, the marketing director of the one and only Lexington, Kentucky, Georgetown-based Country Boy Brewing. Pete, man, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me, and I appreciate you reaching out and getting us on.
Yeah, man. Well, I was telling you a little bit in the pre-interview. This is very full circle for me. I've told the barbecue stories and all the restaurant entrepreneur stuff from those days a lot on this show specifically. And we actually cut our teeth in the food truck market in Lexington there. And Country Boy Brewing was one of the really nice local breweries there in Lexington, which for some reason nobody knows, or it's slept on as a secret, really. Like Lexington has a great local craft beer scene that people don't really know about. They talk about the bourbon there a lot. They talk about the food and the basketball and the horse racing and depending on the year, the football. But yeah, man, it's a great scene, and Country Boy's been a great friend of mine for a long time. So I'm pumped to be able to do this with you today.
Well, it's funny you told me that story, and I was actually taken back a little bit because I definitely ate your barbecue. Even before I worked for Country Boy, I was spending a lot of time and probably money in that tap room, drinking the good beer. So Lexington does have a great beer scene. We were the first tap room model brewery to open in Lexington. So that was in 2012. West 6 was soon behind us, about 2 or 3 months later. And now we've got, in the teens number of breweries now. Wow. So breweries, cideries, distilleries. It's a great town to have a cocktail, to have a beer. And we've got some great liquid coming out of Central Kentucky. And I'll put it up against any of the big name brew towns that are typically on the big lists. But I think we got some good stuff in Kentucky.
Yeah, it really is, and it's funny because bourbon is such a big cliche. I mean, it's great. Don't get me wrong. Like, obviously, bourbon's amazing, but like it's so big that it overshadows what's happening there in Central Kentucky, and people don't talk about it enough. But I want to get into all of it with you. But at first, man, if you could just give us a little background on you and tell me how you went from tap room guest and guy that won't leave the bar stool to now they like put you on the team and they let you handle the marketing side of things.
So it's funny. It's kind of fortuitous. When I graduated college, I moved back to Lexington and was searching for a job. I had a great internship with the local minor league baseball team, the Lexington Legends, and really enjoyed that internship. So I went begging and pleading for a job from those folks, and it turned out that they decided to give me a job there. And I was in charge of selling tickets. So selling tickets to minor league baseball is, a lot of cold calls, a lot of networking, a lot of introducing yourself to anybody that'll listen to you for 5 minutes. And I walked in to the Country Boy Lexington tap room in 2011, the fall of 2011, when it was just an empty space inside.
Yeah.
The garage door was open, that kind of garage door that goes into the brewery side of things in Lexington. And sitting right there was one of the four founders of Country Boy Brewing. His name is Jeff Beagle, and introduced myself. Said I was selling Lexington Legends tickets. It'd be great for their clients, their distributors. I didn't understand how startups worked back then. And he just took one look up. He's on a plastic table with all these blueprints in front of him. And he looked up and he goes, "We don't have any money. We haven't sold a single beer yet." And I said, "You know what? Let me know when you're opening because I'll be back to drink the beer for you, and hopefully that works out." So, long story short, I met another marketing director of another brewery here in Lexington during that job with the Legends, and I said, I've always been interested on the marketing side more so than the sales side. If you've got any kind of openings coming up, let me know. And sure enough, about 6 months later, he had an opening. And I got the gig and fell, basically neck deep into beer and spirits. So, been on the bourbon side, been on the beer side, and really enjoy the industry, really enjoy the difference between beer and spirits and how they can go together and people can partner together with barrel aged beers and things like that. And during the height of COVID, I've known the guys at Country Boy just from being in the industry for years. So I've known them since the day they opened. But they were kind of reassessing how their business was going to come out the other end of COVID, and they reached out to me and had a plan in place of what they wanted to see outside of the four walls of the tap room. Those guys are fantastic at brewing beer. I mean, we have next level beers that are coming out of Country Boy Brewing. And then what they needed help with was the distribution side. Tap rooms were great. We have a great client base. We have a bunch of regulars. But distribution side can be confusing, and especially the marketing side, not only coordinating distributors with retailers and making sure that the programming matches and we're telling the right story across all formats of touch points on the consumer, whether it's digital, whether it's in store, whether it's on the can when they bring the six pack home. Is what they were looking for, and that's really what excites me about the industry is being able to tell the stories of four country boys that just by happenstance met together and started a brewery with very little money, very minor investments, and it grew to what it is today. So I think we have a great story. I think we have fantastic liquid, and just really excited to continue to grow what they started.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the product. Like I said, we drank way too much of it in those nights when we would be selling barbecue because it's a good combo. I mean, you get barbecue, a little beer, and it's good stuff. There was many good nights and good memories, except for in the wintertime. There was never, you did those gigs just to maintain the relationship. We didn't sell a lot of Q those nights, especially back then, but it was rough. But the beer made it
Oh yeah.
much easier. I got to know before we get too deep, what's your favorite beer right now from you guys?
Oh goodness, that's like asking what your favorite child is.
I know.
It depends on the time of day and the
Mm-hmm.
situation around it. Right now, our super premium lager is what I'm
Yep.
having.
Yeah.
This is kind of our play on a light beer. So it's
Mm-hmm.
100 calories, it's 3.1 carbs. All of the numbers are there, but it still has that big country boy beer flavor that we're looking for.
Yeah.
We call it beer flavored beer at the end of the day. But we brewed this beer specifically. All of us are getting up there in age. We're not in our 20s anymore, and the beer guts are starting to develop. So we needed something that was a little bit lighter and
Yeah. Yep.
refreshing to cut down on the calories and carbs. But I'll tell you, our new hazy IPA, Witness the Citrus, is by far my favorite.
Yeah.
At the end of the night, when I know I don't have to have keys in my hand and I can sit down and have dinner, that's what I'm drinking is a Witness the
That's
Citrus.
the move. Yeah, I'm an old classic guy. I'm still just a fan of the Cougar Bait. That's my go-to when I see it in the store or when I'm there. I have a hard time breaking out of that rut because that was like one of the
Hmm.
originals from back in the day. So it just became the habit. And I've
It's
got to try the two new ones you just recommended though. I haven't had either of
Yeah.
those yet.
Cougar Bait, we affectionately refer to the Georgetown Brewery and Tap Room as the house that Cougar Bait built because
Yeah.
that beer is still paying our bills on a day-to-day basis.
Hmm.
That
Yep.
and Shotgun Wedding.
Yep.
Outside of the state, Shotgun Wedding is our most popular brand. It's a brown
Hmm.
ale that's aged over vanilla beans, and it
Hmm.
delivers on that flavor profile every single time.
Yeah. So I got to know, like, you guys are like, so the tap room thing is interesting because it's definitely a local marketing angle, and I think it's very similar to how you would market a local restaurant. So I think there's one level to that, and we can get into that later if we want. But you guys are on store shelves in liquor stores and grocery stores and all the places in a bunch of different markets. But you're also competing for shelf space and design
Hmm.
space and all the things with major multi-billion-dollar brands, and you're the marketing guy for all that. And I know that you said it a bunch of times, and I know it's true that the product is amazing and that you guys have next level brewers that care. Like you said, every drop of liquid that comes out of the place matters a lot. But if until somebody tries it, they don't necessarily know that. And a lot of times they might see that sort of messaging written and then they'll sort of ignore it for whatever reason until they
Hmm.
actually try it and then they dive in. But like, what is your thoughts around getting that can or that bottle to stand out on the shelf from a distribution standpoint and getting that person to try it when there are so many options in that aisle?
Well, it's kind of twofold. One, when you're in a retail setting, packaging matters.
Mm,
Packaging is what the consumer sees first. And my goal and my mantra has always been a consumer needs to know what's in that can before they buy it. and they need to be attracted to that can. So things like the name Cougar Bait, Shotgun Wedding, Halfway Home, Cliff Jumper. These are all, they call them in the industry fanciful names, but they're all just fun, lighthearted. When you think of a country boy, you think of somebody that's out there fishing. You think of
Hmm.
somebody that's, riding in a truck for Shotgun Wedding. You think of somebody that's, on Kentucky Lake jumping off the quarry hills and into the water. Those sorts of things are what we're trying to relate to the consumer. And we want them to know what's in the can before they buy it, because we know that they can relate to that flavor profile.
Yeah.
If if you're a consumer and you pick something up that, there's a lot of fantastic artwork labels out there in the industry right now,
Hmm.
but if you can't stand 3 feet back and see that it's a blonde ale or an IPA or a stout or something like that, and you get that home, that's a disappointment, and it leaves a bad taste in the consumer's mouth. So we really want to shout loud and proud with our cans about what's inside, what flavors to expect, where it's made, why it's made that way, and why we think it deserves a place on that shelf. Um, so that's first and foremost, and then secondly, like you said, the goal with my marketing and the way that I talk to our sales team and anybody that brings me sponsorships or opportunities or events or things like that. Um, our goal is to get a beer in people's hands. If it
Hmm.
doesn't get a beer in people's hands, we're a small company. We can't afford to say yes to every opportunity that comes along, whether good or bad. I want to make sure that at the end of the day, we are sampling as many people as possible, because I can't tell you how many times I've been out with our beer trailer and I poured a beer for somebody and their eyes light up and they just say, "Oh wow, I've only
Yeah.
had, insert big domestic beer product. That's all I drink. This right here is something that I would love to go back to time and time again." So
Yeah.
just giving that, craft beer is still only 10 to 12% of total beer sales across the
Really, I didn't
country.
realize it was that low. For some reason, I would think it was higher, but maybe it's just because of who I am
Yeah,
and the demographic I fall in.
the goal for the Brewers Association is to get it up to 20%, and
Mm.
we've got a long way to go for that. And a big piece of that is education. Not only with the new drinkers that are turning 21 and looking for a different beer experience every day, or
Yeah.
the people like my dad, who's in his 60s, and he never heard of craft beer before 5 years ago. And
Right.
what is it? Why is it so intimidating? No, it's not intimidating. You just got to tell the person behind the bar what you normally drink, and they'll find something that fits your palate.
Yeah. So you guys are trying to. It's like it's a weird balance. It sounds like between striking like trying to be what am I trying to say here? Like familiar, and so that kind of the flavor profile that you're getting, but also from a naming and labeling and branding standpoint, saying, hey, this is how we're a little bit different than the other brands that are on here. Because I will say, from a craft beer standpoint, yeah, the art labels, it is a like they almost become, if you took the name of the company off, I feel like a lot of the art based labels sort of end up looking a lot the same, where somebody like you guys tends to stand out. It's like, oh, this is a very specific look and feel from a branding standpoint we talk about in the marketing industry all the
Hmm.
time. Do you guys have like a specific feeling you're trying to create when they're looking at the brand and they're trying to come in and sample it and all that kind of thing? Is that something you guys focus on a lot?
Absolutely. We try to build a story around every brand that we bring to the market, and
Hmm.
not a fake story. We want it to be authentic.
Right.
Our we have one of our owners has since retired. We have three full-time owners that are still part of the day-to-day operations of the brewery. They're in there every single day, helping either make beer or make decisions. And one of them loves to fish. We have Cougar Bait with a fisherman on the front. He's throwing this big rod out there, the biggest cast you can have. We've got another owner and brewer who loves rock climbing and hiking and camping in the Red River Gorge. So we have an entire series of beers that are based off of trail names in the Red River Gorge. Whether it's hiking or climbing trails, if you've ever been there or if you're part of that hiking or climbing community, you'll recognize these names before you even reach for the can on the
Yeah.
shelf. So we try to
Is that
develop
done?
these. Yeah.
Well, the question there then is like, is that done? Is that, I guess there's a competitive advantage there where if you're a local or you've ever been in that region, then it sort of stands out because you're like, oh, I do know what, like if you had a Miguel's flavored beer
Hmm.
or collab type thing. Miguel's is a big pizza place there in the Red River Gorge, right? For those of you that aren't in the Lexington, Kentucky area. But like if that stands out to me. But then if I'm like down here in Nashville now and I see that, like that almost becomes a hindrance, right? Or is there still it's an overall connection there because it's like, hey, everybody gets Cougar Bait and that makes sense. But maybe that's why that brand sells so well, Shotgun
And
Wedding
I
too.
think, and I think most breweries will admit to this. We massage our marketing locally different than we do in our
Hmm.
outside territories. So let's take Witness to Citrus for example. That's our year-round hazy IPA. Again, probably my favorite beer right now coming out of the brewery that's year-round, and that brand locally resonates as, oh, that's the Red River Gorge beer. If I go to any bar, restaurant, hiking uh, location, or even Miguel's Pizza after a hike in the gorge, that beer is going to be there. Excuse me. If we're down in your area in Nashville or Knoxville or something like that, we talk about the hiking, getting out into the hills, into the mountains. There's fantastic hiking in the Smokies, just in East Tennessee, and so we take it to that point of just being outside, being outdoors, doing the things that you love to do, and that's what we're trying to emphasize with that beer is do what you love and drink what you really like, and we hope you like Witness of Citrus.
Yeah, well, I mean, the way you're selling it to me, man, I gotta call a guy and get some like run, like a beer run back down here to where I'm at in Nashville. I got some friends in Lexington still. You guys are listening. I need you to hook me up, make it happen.
Hey, there's a
Uh,
great beer store right across the border in Franklin, Kentucky that carries all our stuff. So
all
uh,
right, next
it's
time
a little bit closer.
it's man, it's still a hike. I gotta. All right, I'm in. I'm sold. I'm gonna go and get on the road and make this happen. So something else you're talking about in there that's interesting to me. It sounds like you guys are speaking to a very specific, what we call an ideal customer profile, right? Like you
Hmm.
guys know very specifically who your customer is. Is there ever any temptation to try to get outside of that to chase the dollars and grow faster, or do you guys feel very confident in this is who we serve, this is how we serve them, and we know that our tribe will find us eventually?
So I'll credit this to our director of sales. Whenever we're talking to a distribution team or to our own sales team internally, he always talks about fishing in the country boy fishing holes. And the reason we say that is because we're not trying to be that brand that's going to be in, for instance, downtown Louisville at all the hipster craft beer bars. That's not the brand that we are. We want to look for the people that embrace that outdoors lifestyle. We want to make sure that we're hitting the people that are going to be on the boats, on the ATVs. We want to make sure that we're focusing on folks that are playing golf and disc golf and those sorts of just outdoor activities is really our bread and butter. We
Hmm.
do a lot better in kind of the suburb areas, more so than those kind of hip craft beer joints that are always looking for what's new, what's next.
Hmm.
There's very little loyalty, brand loyalty in craft beer in those
Interesting.
kind of hip beer
Why?
bars.
Why is that? Like, what is that? Just because they enjoy the? Is it like them being able to brag? Hey, I tried the newest and greatest thing, and that's part of their
Hmm.
customer story.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that's part of that. And also, I mean, there's 10,000 craft breweries in the country,
Wow.
and there's always something new coming out, and
Mhm.
so it does have that. If you get on Untapped, everybody wants to be the first one to review it, the first one to talk about it. Everybody's trying to find that next big thing to say, "Hey, I tried that first." Um, I remember that back in the day, I made a specific trip to Nashville to go to Bearded Iris's brewery,
Mhm.
specifically because they were the first folks in our region that were making these hazy IPAs that were just unbelievable. I mean, on another level. And they're still making fantastic beer. But it's one of those things I wanted to go down there and try that first before anybody
Yeah.
else and tell everybody the story of their brewery and what they're all about. And so um, I think that we want to try to find more of a set customer that knows that we have the solid liquid that they're looking for every single time they go to reach for a can or pull the
Yeah.
draft.
Yeah, so it's all about being very clear on who you serve, why you serve them,
Hmm.
and then being very careful if you ever choose to deviate outside of that. That makes a lot of
Hmm.
sense to me. So you got the core demographic down. You got a great product that people are. I mean, the word of mouth for that brand is huge. I remember that very vividly when we were there. I lived there for 10 years, and as soon as you guys opened, it's all I freaking heard about because it was such a perfect brand name and brand stance and product market fit from a beer
Hmm.
standpoint for that demographic in Lexington. And so it just like a rocket ship took off compared to some of the other breweries that were there. And I mean, you guys are getting ready to celebrate what, 11, 12 years now in
We
business?
just celebrated 11 years this
11.
past week. So,
It's amazing.
yeah, it was 11 years in Lexington and 6 years in Georgetown.
Yeah.
So
I can't believe that
it's,
Georgetown place has been open 6 years already.
I
That's
know,
that's
I know.
wild to me because I
I
remember when
was,
that opened and I was like, that's a big deal. That's
yep,
crazy.
I was there day one and vividly remember it. And
And
we
now here
went,
we are.
yeah, and we've since expanded that building and we have more storage and a brand new canning line in there. It's
That's wild.
a fantastic spot that continues to serve us well.
Yeah. So we got the product, we got who we're serving, we got all that lined up. So now you're talking about so you got the in-store experience as well from the way the cans look compared to the rest of the lineup there as well. But so what else are you guys doing to help get the word out? Is it live demos in the store? Is that the key to getting people to try it and sample it? Or are you guys going the Facebook, Google, digital advertising, social media marketing route? Like what's the play there?
All of that is in our mix.
Hmm.
Probably the biggest investment into marketing for us is events.
Hmm.
Again, that's a get a beer in people's hands
Yeah.
situation. So whether that's beer fests, whether that's community events, I don't know if you remember the Woodland Art Fair.
Oh yeah.
It's probably one of our biggest events every year. It draws people in from all over the region, and it has always been fantastic for us. Um, so anytime we can get our team out into the market to tell our story face to face with the consumer, that's going to be a number one. That goes into in-store demos, tastings, things like that. We have a new cider package coming out that we're really excited about. It's kind of our big innovation piece in 2023,
Hmm.
and just had our national sales meeting and talked to all the guys. And the big thing that I harped on was sample, 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 sample.
Hmm.
I'm the only person in our brewery that lives in Louisville, so that kind of falls on me in this city. But I'm out at Liquor Barn, Total Wine, Kroger, anybody that will allow me to come in, and I'm sampling them. So that's definitely a big piece. And then we do have a pretty sizable budget dedicated to digital advertising.
Hmm.
All of those pieces, all of the digital pieces, are really a way to get that brand recognition,
Hmm.
get our brand in front of eyes, and let people see it. The good news about our two flagships of Cougar Bait and Shotgun Wedding is just hearing those names makes people giggle just a little bit. So um,
I think I've smiled every time you've said them.
exactly.
They
So
still get me,
you
and I've
know
known about it for 7, 8 years now.
it puts a smile on people's face,
Yeah.
and so having those brand names related to Country Boy Brewing goes a long way. So you can
Mhm.
give that brand feeling to someone through a digital ad, whether it's video, static ads, any of those sorts of things.
Yeah. Do you guys like so there's two questions I've got there. I want to do the events
Mhm.
based one first because you guys are in so many different markets. And so how in the world like are you trying to plug into local events depending on the market that you're in or like that's got to be that's a massive project to scale.
It is. In the state of Kentucky, we have about 2.5 sales reps. So that helps a lot in that we've got bodies out in the market that can keep their ear to the ground and bring those opportunities back to home base and let us
Hmm.
know. Do we need a trailer? Can we do crack and serve? Where's the beer coming from? Is it through distribution? We've got a law here in Kentucky that's we call it SB 11, which stands for Senate Bill 11, that passed back in 2017, I want to say, that allows us to basically expand our taproom license into the community as long as we're invited by
Wow.
whoever owns the property. So,
That's
is the beer
awesome.
going through distribution? Is the beer coming from us? All of these sorts of things kind of play into into these events. And then in territories where we don't have an internal sales rep, we rely heavily on our distribution network. We've chosen the network that we're in based off of the people that work there. We don't care what other brands they sell. It really is based off of the relationships we have, and so we have full faith and trust in the folks to let us know, hey, this is one you need to be at. Don't worry about this one over here. This is where the people come. This is where your craft drinkers are going to congregate. So we want to make sure that you're out there loud and proud in front of them.
Gotcha. All right, that's cool. That's good on you guys, because I just thinking about that just feels overwhelming to my soul, and I'm just like,
Trust me.
I think about every small town in Kentucky that had, because I've been to catering in a lot of them, and I just remember for the barbecue days, like we would have to, like the places I traveled were just wild for these random one-off events, and like, I mean, you get pretty busy chasing your tail and not get a lot of bang for your buck. I mean, I know we all love to say, and I do believe this, but at some point there's a line where it's like, hey, we want everybody to try our beer, and one is better than none and all that, but like 50,000 is better than 5. You know what I mean? So there's a cost of what do they call it? Cost of goods or cost of service or whatever.
Yeah,
like opportunity cost. That's the word I'm looking at.
Yep. And let me tell you, we have been burned a time or two, and those are just lessons you have to learn along the way. So they're not all home runs, but we try to.
We'll have 10,000 people here. It's going to be great, and then 50 show up.
Yep.
I'm having this conversation is crazy for me. I'm having like nostalgic flashbacks to like LA, Lexington, all the fun times I had there. And then I'm also having like PTSD where I'm like, hey, we're going to go do this event and it's going to be great for you guys. And then 5 people show up and it was not what we were promised. So I feel your pain, man. That's rough.
Yep.
That's rough. So the paid ads stuff is interesting. That's really where high B marketing plays in a lot. Like a lot of our customers are in the paid ad space, but for beer and spirits and all that kind of thing, you can't. I mean, selling online is sort of iffy and on a state by state basis, and so you can't really go direct CTA kind of thing. So is the play to just go all brand awareness ads at that point on the different platforms, or
so? In Kentucky, we can sell direct to consumer.
Okay.
We do have the ability to ship direct to consumer. So, we do get some orders in far Western Kentucky, far Eastern Kentucky of people that can't find the specific brand they want. But most people settle for, the brands that are in the stores. For the digital stuff, a lot of the times what we're doing is we have basically a back-end program that takes all of the data from sales from our distribution team and reports that back to us, so we can see specifically what stores, how many brands, when it was delivered, and know that brand is on the shelf. So what we can do is, through pre-roll ads or retargeting ads, really dig into the specific consumer that has been in liquor stores or bars or other breweries, and focus on them to get them to be aware that we have brands in their market, and then are able to see on the back end if that's moving the needle in that specific zip code or things like that. So we try to actually dig down as deep as possible and focus on certain DMAs or metro areas and figure out okay, so we're moving this much product, we're going to put this budget towards it, and at the end of that 2 weeks later we're going to see a spike in sales, or maybe that's not our market, let's move on to the next one and try that out. So a lot of it's trial and error, as I'm sure you're aware of, but we're definitely trying to dig down as deep as possible to make sure we're hitting the right consumers with the money that we're able to throw at it.
Yeah, it's so funny. I think there's back to the storytelling piece earlier where we were talking about, like, there's a certain myth that we've created around craft beer that it sort of feels very rustic and folksy and like organic, and then you hear like time and time again, every time I talk to somebody in a space like you're in, and they're like, hey, we've got a lot of data, there's a lot of smart stuff happening behind the scenes to make sure that we're not just burning cash, because I think cash flow really matters even for a business of you guys' size and longevity. Like cash flow is a big deal. And marketing is a great way. We say it all the time. Marketing is a great way to grow your business. It's also a way to kill your business, whether you're exposing a bad product too quickly because you don't have product market fit yet, or you are spending money on ads that you think are working, and then by the time you start getting money back and you realize not enough's coming back, and that return on ad spend, that ROAS has gone to hell in a handbasket, and you're just like, oh God, what have we done here? So
My
being
office
fractional
is
like you guys, that's wild. Sorry, go
yeah.
ahead.
My office is right across the hall from our accountant, and anytime that I'm spending money, he can hear it happening, and he'll walk across the hall just to kind of sit at my desk like this and make sure that I'm not overpromising anything. But I mean, you can look at the
Love it.
Super Bowl this year and see that there was more money spent this year on beverage alcohol than there was any year in the past 10 years. Part of that was, Anheuser-Busch letting up their exclusivity agreement, but at the same time, people see value in getting eyes on their brands.
Yeah.
There were a lot of brands in the Super Bowl that I had never seen before, honestly. And whether they're new this year or just, developing to that level, but there's a lot of money out there trying to push people to, your brand, and we're just trying to fight for a piece of that.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, depending on your company size and all that, you need a really well-rounded marketing plan. I think a lot of times people, especially when they're newer to advertising their product and they're getting out of that sales phase where they're just aggressively trying to close business, and then also the referral word of mouth phase. And marketing is really about building relationships long term. It's you got 100 people in front of you, maybe 5 want to buy. That's the people you sell to, but everybody else you have to build a relationship with, because if you just try to sell to the person that's not ready to buy, they're going to be annoyed by you, and then you're going to hurt your brand in the short term and in the long run. And so, it's interesting the way the Super Bowl ads go. That's almost its own TV show in its own regard. We have a weekly newsletter we put out, and tomorrow's email that's going out, we're recording this on a Wednesday. Thursday's email is all about our top 3 winners from the Super Bowl, and then you'll love this. The dad joke name top 3 fumbles. So who spent money and fumbled the ball? And I got a really nice picture of Jalen Hurts there, and he's fumbling. I hope I don't have any Eagles fans on the list, because maybe we'll piss them off. But it was too funny not to do. I had to do it. The dad in me was like, I got to hit this joke. So
Hey,
I got to
like
know,
it.
what was your favorite Super Bowl ad from the year?
Oh man, I hate to say it. I mean, I'm such a sucker for Bud Light marketing.
Yeah, it's
Like
good.
I mean, I vividly remember the first time seeing the 3 frogs out there saying Budweiser, and
Oh,
ever
so
since
good.
then, I've looked forward to the Budweiser commercial every single year. Some of them have hit home runs, some of them have been duds, but
Yeah,
I think the whole commercial this year was
Miles
absolutely
Teller.
fantastic. Yes, it was well thought out. It was kind of a more of a thinking man's ad than it was,
Yeah,
just Bud Light in your face. And it's something that everybody in this country can relate to, is sitting there on hold, just being like, oh my God, what am I going to do for the next hour and a half that I have to sit here and wait?
yeah.
So
And they
I
just
think
made it a party.
I think they hit a home run with that one.
Yeah, I agree. That was so my partner wrote this week's email, and he's the one that broke down the Super Bowl ad. So he picked his top 3 and his least favorite 3, and I think it's either number 2 or number 3 was the Bud Light ad, the
Yeah.
hold ad, and
Yep.
it was pretty long too. I want to say they ran that spot for 60 seconds, maybe. Like, it was a
Yeah.
pretty significant one, but it was so memorable. We tried to break it down from an advertising perspective, because we wanted to make sure, like, it's not just what we liked, but here's what you can actually take away from it from a marketer standpoint. And what you said is 100% true. It's a relatable experience to all of us. And what they did that was really smart is, they, instead of positioning Bud Light as the hero of that ad, they made Miles Teller the hero, and they made Bud
Mhm.
Light like a family member that was just there to help support, like a sidekick. And I think a lot of ads that get in trouble, they sort of flip that positioning, where they say, "Oh, we'll be the hero, and then you guys can just fall in line with us and come be cool or whatever." But yeah, I'm with you. That was top 3 for me too. I really
Yeah.
like that ad.
Yeah.
The it didn't make our top 3, but the one that I do like was the oh man, see, it's not even that good, because now I'm forgetting the name of the company. It was the dog. It was the dog food one, where they were talking about the life of a dog, and
Oh yes, yes.
yeah, and it was I think it's, again, the relatively new dad in me. I've got a 5-year-old, but still, like, once I had that little girl, man, 5 years ago, all of a
Hmm.
sudden, like, all the commercials in the world will start getting to me, and now I see this dog like aging up as a best friend. Oh, that got me. That was good. That
Oh,
was as nostalgic.
I looked over. My wife was like bawling at that one. She's such a dog person, and so I fully understand. Like
Yeah,
that hits a chord with a lot of people
yeah.
too.
I'll tell you the commercial that we as the ad team over here, what we argued about the most was the Workday commercial. Do you remember that one?
I don't know if I remember that
It
one.
was the one with all the '80s rock band people running around saying, how using the word rock star in an office. The fact that you don't
Oh,
remember it is like
yes, yes.
perfect. Yeah.
No, I do remember that
So
now.
this was like the big argument for us was like that's a good attention grabbing ad, and so a lot of people were saying in the office at least were saying, hey, that's what makes it a good ad. It got your attention. You remember it. And I'm like, yeah, but then you ask people, what were they selling? What were they trying to bring awareness to?
Hmm.
And they were bringing awareness to Workday. And really what they brought awareness to was all the 80s rock bands. And so I'm like, it was a great 80s rock band commercial. My Spotify playlist got updated immediately. But like, I didn't go to Workday to figure out what that was all about. And I own a company. Like, I'm in the demographic. I might be somebody
Hmm.
that needs that service. So it's very tricky. You have to be careful because you guys even like what you guys do with ads, like you could make a can tomorrow that connects with a certain person and gets attention for you, but then isn't actually going to help you down the stream because it's not actually in your ideal customer profile. So the fact that you guys are thinking that long term about it is really cool
Hmm.
and inspiring for me. I feel like I got to step up my game as an advertiser, man. So thank
I
you for
think
that.
I think a piece of it is, we want to make sure that the Country Boy brand is out there loud and proud in front of everybody. So folks know that, again, who we are, why we're doing what we're doing. Um, I've been a part of a lot of product launches in the past that have deviated from the core marketing and the core branding, and that just doesn't do any service to the company itself.
Yeah.
I can't say whether I like it or I hate it, but you look at Bud Light. They're taking that name into every aspect of their product line. So you've got Bud Light, you've got Bud Light Seltzer, you've got Bud Light hard sodas, you've got Bud Light this, that, and the other. Well, that's because Bud Light is that parent brand right there for light beer,
Hmm.
and the consumer is always going to see that and recognize that's going to be light. So
Yeah.
I definitely think that you need to have that brand name loud and proud to make sure that people know who it's from and why you're doing it.
Yeah, I love that. Hey, that's about as strong of a word as we can end this thing on right there. I don't know if we could do any better. Hey, Pete, two things. One, is there anything we haven't covered that, I did a bad job interviewing that we got to bring out at the end here? And then two, how can we connect with you and support you guys?
No, I think we hit pretty much everything. Cougar Bait and Shotgun Wedding are our most popular brand, so that's going to be the most likely thing you'll see on the shelf. Um, you can always follow us on social media to see what we're up to, see all of our new ads, all of our new products. We're going to have a new product launch coming up next month, so it'll probably get pretty interesting, and I'll be very busy behind the screen. Hopefully doing a good job with that one. So you can stay tuned at Country Boy Brewing on Facebook and Instagram, and then we have at Country Boy Brew on Twitter. So those are kind of the three big points for us. And if you ever need to reach out, it's called shout@countryboy.com is the email address. So feel free to give us a holler.
Cool. We'll link all that up for you guys, and hopefully, if anybody needs any help selling beer, they know who to call. Pete's the man. Well, Pete, thanks you for joining me, man. Thanks for everybody that's listening today. We'll see you next week. Peace.